Welcome to Spider Red. I'm going to do a review and my predictions for the 5A class of Georgia High School football's playoffs. I'm going to try to do 6A and 7A. I'm not sure I'm going to have enough time before the playoffs start this Friday, but I at least wanted to do the class that I'm much more familiar with. So I'm going to do each corner of the bracket. For round one, I'm just going to go through and kind of give a brief description of why I think they'll win. And then in the top 8, I will do a breakdown of each school who I think is going to be in the top 8, and then at the end I'll talk about the final 4, and then I'll give you my prediction of who I think will win this class championship. And then at the very end, I'm actually going to go over the top 8 recruits for this class. I'm only going to do the top 50 in the state of Georgia. So there are actually 8 kids from this class. They're in Georgia's top 50 recruits. We're going to start in the top left-hand corner of the playoff bracket. The first game is Decatur and Ware County. That's a 2 and 3 seed. Ware County is actually the defending champion of this class from last year. They actually got beat by the number 1 team in the state right now, which is Coffee. On this game, I think Ware County would easily beat Decatur. So let's go down. Warner Robins actually won the state championship 2 years before Ware County. The Demons are still a good football team. They're playing the Region 4 seed McIntosh, and I think they will win that game as well. We go on down to the next one. Dalton is actually where I work, and they're playing GAC, which has always been a good football team. This is 2 and 3. I'm actually going to pick an upset here. Dalton's actually ranked 10th per Max Preps. So when I'm talking about these rankings, I am just using Max Preps top 20 rankings. Dalton is number 10. I'm going to pick them to go down and take care of GAC. And then at the bottom is the number 5 seed, Creekside, who is a very good football team. And I think they'll take care of the Falcons at Flowery Branch, that 4 seed. Now on this side, I have Creekside, Dalton, Warner Robins, and Ware County. Down to the bottom part of the left bracket, the first game is a 2 and 3 seed. Tucker and Statesboro is that game. So I actually have the Tucker Tigers winning that. Then if we go down, the 1 seed of Region 3, Harrison County against the 4 seed of Ola. This is actually my first big upset. I actually like the Ola Mustangs. Actually ranked 14th per Max Preps. But they're in a very tough division. I just think they're battle tested and can pull off that upset. We'll move down to Hiram and Cambridge, another 2 and 3 seed. Hiram almost beat Cartersville, and they are a very good football team. They actually have a few top recruits in the state and the top 100. They actually have them ranked 7 right now in Max Preps, so I have them taking care of Cambridge. At the bottom is Region 8 champions, the Jefferson Dragons, over Jackson of Atlanta, which is a 4 seed. And I think Jefferson will definitely win that game. So that's the bracket for the bottom half. Now we're going to move up to the top right side of the bracket. So the first game there is a 2 seed from the 8 region, the Eastside Eagles versus Chapel Hill. Eastside's actually the 9th ranked team in the state, so I have them winning that game. And then if you go down, you have the 7 seed champions, the Cartersville Purple Hurricanes, taking on Centennial. I think Cartersville will take care of business there. Moving on down, we have Northgate versus Dutchtown, another 2 and 3 seed. I actually have an upset here with the Dutchtown Bulldogs winning that game. And then moving on down a little further, I have Arabia Mountain versus Jenkins, a 1 and 4, and I think Arabia Mountain will win that game. Now we're going to move down to the bottom part of the right bracket. The first game, we have the Mays Raiders going against the Red Devils of Loganville. Mays actually finished their season with 3 straight shutouts, so that defense is looking pretty good. They're ranked number 12th. I'm going to have Mays winning that game. Moving on down, the Kell Longhorns, the Region 6 champions, taking on Cass. Cass played in that tough region. That's the region I'm very familiar with. Even though they're the 4th ranked team, they are a good football team. Cass might give Kell a really good game, but I still think Kell will end up winning. So I have Kell moving on in the first round. Moving on down, you have Northside. That's Columbus, not Warner Robins. So the Northside will be taking on the Jones County Hounds, the Greyhounds of Jones County. They're ranked 16th. I actually have Jones County winning that game. The very last game in that bracket is the Region 1 champs, the number 1 team in the state, and that's the Coffee Trojans taking on the Bulldogs of Chambly. And I have Coffee winning that game. Okay, let's go back so that we can move past the second round. We're going back up to the left top side of the bracket. For round 2, we have the number 4 Ware County Gators taking on the Demons of Warner Robins. This is going to be a great football game. Both of them are in the past 3 years, Warner Robins won 2, Ware County won last year. So it's a matchup of the 3 previous champions of this class of 5A. So it should be a good football game. And I just think Ware County is going to be able to run the ball and control the clock, and I think Ware County will win that game. If we move down, we have the Creekside Seminoles taking on the Dalton Catamounts, a 5 versus 10 seed matchup. So Dalton will have to travel down to Creekside, down to Fairburn, and Dalton's a good team, but I just think Creekside, they're just going to be too much. They have a very good balanced team on offense, and I just think that they're just going to be too much for Dalton. So I have Creekside winning that game. In the next matchup, I'm going to go ahead and start talking about the next matchup as well. So this would be the Elite 8 matchup. I have the number 4 Ware County versus number 5 Creekside. And I'm going to discuss each one of those teams in a little more detail. So just to give you a little bit of background, so this is the Ware County Gators. They're located in Waycross, Georgia. And if you're not familiar with Georgia, this is the southeastern part of Georgia. It's by the Okefenokee Swamp, and that's why they have the mascot of the Gators. Their head coach is Jason Strickland. They were the 2022 state champions in 5A last year. This year, they're 7-3 with losses to Benedictine, which has a very high recruited quarterback, Bainbridge, and then Coffee. Coffee is actually in their region, and they kind of flip-flop. Last year, the last game of their regular season is Ware County and Coffee. Last year, Ware County won and went on to win the state championship. This year, Coffee got beat Ware County, and we'll see if they can go all the way to win the championship. Also, while I'm kind of talking about these two teams, or the teams more in depth for the Elite 8, I'm just going to talk about 2 players that are all-stars for their team. So for Ware County, quarterback Luke Hooks, that wears number 12. He's only a junior. They didn't have how tall and what his size is. He is leading the team right now on the offense. And then A.J. Boyd, their running back, he's 6 foot 215. That's a big running back. So he's leading rushing attack for Ware County. And I think R.J. Boyd's going to be the reason. They're going to be the reason why they have a good game against Creekside. But I'm just not sure if they're going to have enough. So let's look at the other Elite 8 team in this game. And that would be your Creekside Seminoles, which is located in Fairburn, Georgia. Their head coach is Maurice Dixon. They are the Region 5A region champions. So that's Region 5 in AA. They are 9-1. And look at this. They lost to Mater Dei. If you know anything about high school football, Mater Dei is actually in Santa Ana, California, and they are similar to your IMGs. They are a highly recruited, a lot of stars, a lot of recruits will transfer to that high school and play at Mater Dei. They're one of the top programs in the nation, and for Creekside to go play them, that shows you kind of where their program is at. So I think that's really cool. They did not play Mater Dei very well, but considering that they're a 5A and what Mater Day presents. It's pretty impressive to me. So let's go over two of their all-stars that I picked. One is, and I'm kind of doing this like thunder and lightning pick for them. They have a smaller running back. His name is Travis Terrell Jr. He's actually a very good cornerback too. He's 5'9", 160. He's a senior. He kind of provides a spark on offense. Their thunder side of that running game is Roderick McCrary. He's 5'10", 189. He's a senior. He wears number 0. They also have a 4-star that I will discuss later in our top 8 recruits for this class, Caleb Holmes. He is a offensive line, so I'll talk about him some more later. They also have another good cornerback, Kevin Gray, who is a 3-star that's committed to Virginia, and he is ranked 120th in Georgia. So this team has a lot of talent, and that's why I'm actually going to have them beating Ware County. They are the 1 seed, Ware County is a 2 seed, but I actually have Creekside winning this game. So they will move on to the Final Four. Let's move down to the bottom part of this left bracket. So I will discuss the Elite 8 game. I will discuss those 2 teams that will make it to the Elite 8, and then I will give you my prediction on who will go to the Final Four. So in the top, you actually have the Tucker Tigers taking on that Ola Mustangs. So this is one of my big Cinderellas. I'm actually going to stick with the Ola Mustangs in this game. I think they have enough. I know they're just a 4 seed. This is a big Cinderella, but they play in that really tough division, and I'm going to discuss them a little more, but I actually have the Ola Mustangs winning this game. If we move down, we have number 3 Jefferson taking on number 7 Hiram. Hiram played a lot of good teams during the year, but I just think Jefferson's too much. They have this big running back who is very highly recruited, and I think Jefferson's just going to be too much for Hiram. So I'm actually going to have Jefferson moving on, winning that game, and then they will face Ola Mustangs. Let's move on, and let's talk a little bit about Ola. The Ola Mustangs, they're in McDonough, Georgia. Their head coach is Tom Causey. They're in the Region 2 of Class 5A. They were the 4th seed in a very tough division, and their 3 losses actually came to all the teams in their region. They only lost by 1 point to Warner Robins. They lost a very tough game at the end of the season to Dutchtown. They only lost by 3 points. The Hounds of Jones County, they lost to them as well. All 3 of those teams I've already talked about. All 3 of those teams moved into the second round. I had all 3 of them winning. This is the only region that I had all 4 teams moving to the second round. If you look at their stats and how they are coached and built, I just think that's a very strong division. So their 2 all-stars that I have for Ola is their quarterback, Jake Holmes. He is a senior. He wears number 8. He's 6'3", 215. So he's going to be able to see over those linemen and see down the field really well. And then their other star is Braylon Lamar. He's a linebacker, wears number 4. He's a senior also, and he's 5'9", 175. So for the Jefferson Dragons, they are in Jefferson, Georgia. Their head coach is Travis Nolan. They are Region 8, and they were the region champions. They went 10-0 this year. They didn't lose a game. They are ranked 3rd in the state. This is a very good football team. I'm going to go ahead and move on to their stars. One of them is Gavin Markey, the quarterback, number 9. He's only a junior. He's 6'2", 210. Man, they are just feeding these kids. God, it's impressive how big all these kids have gotten. He is a very good quarterback. He brings balance to the offense. And then you have Sammy Brown. He is a running back / linebacker. He wears number 1. He's a senior. He's 6'3", 230. 6'3", 230 as a running back. You should watch this guy run. He is a hoss. This kid, I want to talk about him later on. He is the only 5-star in this class in 5A. He is committed to Clemson. He is highly ranked. I will talk about that more later, but I think he is going to lead this team against Ola, and Ola's just not going to be able to stop him. And that's why I have Jefferson going to the Final Four, beating my Cinderella, the Ola Mustangs, and then I'll get to the Final Four. But I think Jefferson's a really good football team, and I think they'll just rely on Sammy to win this football game. Let's move to the right-hand side of the bracket, and we'll start up at at the top for round 2. So round 1, we had Eastside taking on Chapel Hill, moving over, and we had Cartersville winning their game. So this matchup, Cartersville struggled this year. They got behind in a lot of games in the first half, and then they had to come out in the second half, adjust, and come back and win a lot of their games. Even though they're 10-0 record, they had 3 or 4 really close games. That kind of worries me a little bit about this game. This could be one of the bigger chances for a team like Eastside to come in and upset. I still think Cartersville has enough. I have them winning this game, moving on to the elite game. Watch this game. It could be a very close matchup. Eastside, they might have enough to pull off an upset. Let's go on down to the bottom of the bracket. I have Arabia Mountain, the number 1 seed for Region 4, playing Dutchtown. This is my other Cinderella. I'm putting a lot of faith in that region too. Hopefully they don't let me down on my predictions. I have Dutchtown playing Arabia Mountain. This is my other Cinderella. I actually think Dutchtown is going to win this game and move on to the Elite 8 versus Cartersville. So I actually have, and I'll explain why when I go down to their breakdown, but I have Dutchtown moving on to play in the Elite 8. Let's go in a little more detail about Cartersville. It's the Cartersville Purple Hurricanes. They're in Cartersville, Georgia. Their head coach is Connor Foster. They were the Region 7 5A region champions. They are 10-0. They're ranked 2 in the state. I think it's a little high. So this is my alma mater. This is where I went to school. I know them really well. I went to a game this year. I only got to go to one game. I was hoping to go to a few more. I just didn't have a chance. We have a rich football tradition here in Cartersville. We have a lot of people know Trevor Lawrence. He went here, won 2 state championships. We also had Ronnie Brown in 1999, won a championship for us. He was the number 2 overall pick in the first round for the Miami Dolphins. So we have a really good football program. This year, I'm going to talk about our All-Stars. I'm just not sure we've got enough to go all the way. But let me discuss that a little more with the All-Stars. We have the first All-Star I'm going to talk about is Christian Lando. He's the running back, number 6. He's a senior, 6 foot, 195. That's not Lando Calrissian from Star Wars, but they rely on Christian a lot. We run the football a good bit. They give him the ball at least 20 times a game. I'm afraid that if a team comes in and really blows that box up, do we have enough? Is our passing attack enough to win against better football teams? Only time will tell. The other one, which is my true all-star of this team, I love watching this kid. His name is Connor Brassfield. He's a tight end and a linebacker. When you watch him on defense, he is all over the field. He's aggressive. It seems like he has a high football IQ. He moves. You can tell he kind of watches the quarterback's eyes very well. And then you'll see him catching touchdowns as well. He's a good blocking tight end too. So watch for number 44 if they show any games on TV for Cartersville. So let's talk about the Dutchtown Bulldogs. They're in Hampton, Georgia. Their head coach is Nikita Battle. They are Region 2. They were the 3 seed in that region. They are 5-5. Don't let that record scare you. They had one of the toughest schedules that I've looked at and reviewed. They have 5 losses, but let's go over those losses. They played Jonesboro, which is in the highest class in Georgia, which is 7A, and their record was 7-3. So when you go to 7A, when you're looking at classes, you know that that's a much larger school. So they went and played Jonesboro. Then they played Spalding and lost to them. Spalding is actually the number 3 ranked team in 4A. It's only one class down, but still, that is a tough game. And then they played Warner Robins, which is in their region. They barely lost to them. They went and played Cedar Grove, who, if you know about Cedar Grove, they have won 4 state championships in the past 7 years. Another tough game. And then they lost another region game against Jones County, which Jones County is a very good football team. And that's why Dutchtown might be the most battle-tested team in this entire class. And that's why I have them moving on like I have. That's why they're one of my Cinderellas. Their all-stars is Xavier Fielder. He's a middle linebacker. He wears number 13. He's a senior. He's 6 foot, 205. And then their running back, number 32. He's a senior, 5'10", 190. I have them as their all-stars. I kind of want to mention, too, They also have another really good running back, Antonio Wesley, and their quarterback, Braxton Brown, is good too. They might give Carsville all they can handle. Carsville's actually, the way they've been playing, going against Eastside and then Dutchtown, they're going to have a tough match. To go ahead and talk about that coming up, if Dutchtown can't stop Lando, I think Carsville's going to win that game, and that's who I'm predicting to move on. I have Carsville beating Dutchtown to move on to the Final Four. Moving down in the playoff bracket, this is the last part of the bracket, so we're going to go over round 2 for this section. We have the Mays Raiders versus the Kell Longhorns. Both of them are ranked per Max Sports. This could be a very good this will be a very good football game, I believe. Mays only lost by 1 point to Creekside, and I talked about Creekside a little bit already. They're the 5th ranked team in the state. Mays has a shot to beat Kell. I think Kell is also a very good football team. This was the one game that I debated on heavily. This is one of the toughest parts of the bracket. I think this bottom right hand side is just loaded with Mays, Cass, Kell, Jones County, and Coffee. All these teams are just good football teams. Kell and Jones County just kind of got put in a rough part of the bracket. I have Kell beating Mays to move on to the Elite 8, but I think it'll be a close game. Like I said, I debated putting Mays as a upset here. After looking, I just think Kell is gonna be able to prevail because they're gonna have that home field advantage. That's what teetered me over to Kell. Moving down at the last game of this bracket, you have Jones County going versus Coffee. Jones County they're just in a bad spot here. If they were in anywhere else, I'd have them moving on probably. But Coffee is they're a loaded team. That defensive front is going to be tough to handle for Jones County. I just think that Coffee's just the better team. That's why I have Coffee moving to the Elite 8. It's not because if Jones was somewhere else, I would have them moving on. But for right now, I have Coffee. So just a little more detail about Kell. We have the Kell Longhorns. They're in Marietta, Georgia. Their head coach is Bobby May. They were the Region 6 5A champions. They were 9-1. Their only loss was to Parkview. Don't know if you know about Parkview. That's where Jeff Francoeur and Matt Olson went. 2 huge Braves baseball players. They won 3 straight championships in the early 2000s. I'm not sure they've won one since. I'd have to look. They're still a very good program. So for Kell to go up to 7A football to play someone like Parkview is really impressive. Now, they're all-stars. They have Bryce Clavin. He's a quarterback. He wears number 1. He is a dual threat. He is 6 foot, 182 pounds. He's a senior. Watch out for this kid. I think, too, that might be the reason they're going to be able to get past Mays. This kid is very good. They also have my other all-star, I should say, is Tyshawn Nat. He's a defensive end. He's 5'9", 235. He's only a junior. I have him on the defensive side after looking at all their stats. I've been using so many offensive guys, I wanted to make sure I put a defensive guy in there. Also, their helmet, they have this one black helmet that just says horns in cursive, kind of like how the Gators and even Cartersville does the cursive. I wish I could have found that or had time to make that helmet. But anyway, Kell is a big program. They have their own website. That is a little more about Kell. Let's move on to the number 1 team in the state, and that is the Coffee Trojans. They're in Douglas, Georgia. Their head coach is Mike Coe. Mike Coe actually came from Florida. He won a lot of championships down in Florida. They are 10-0 this year, and they rely heavily on their running game. My first all-star, Fred Brown, wears number 0. He's a senior, 5'10", 200. Lorenzo Hardy, a defensive end, number 12. He's a senior. He's 6'4", 205. And that defensive front is loaded. That's why I think they're going to go deep into the playoffs. And that's why that defense is the reason why I have them beating Kell. Kell is a good football team. But I think that defense at Coffee, being able to run the ball with Fred Brown, I think they're going to move on to the Final Four. And that's who I'm picking. I'm going to have Coffee beating Kell. So let's move to the Final Four, the last part of the bracket. Left-hand side, we have Creekside going against Jefferson. So Creekside is 5, Jefferson is number 3. I've talked about both of them a little bit. I think with the running back from Jefferson, Sammy Brown, the big recruit that's going to Clemson, I think he's just too much. I think their team overall is just a very, very good football team, and I don't think Creekside's going to be able to stop him. In that Final Four matchup, that semifinals, I'm going to have the Dragons moving on to the championship game. On the right-hand side, I had Cartersville moving on. They probably had the best draw, so I have them moving in the Final Four against Coffee. Coffee is just going to be too much. Cartersville having to rely on their running game so much, and Coffee's defensive line being so talented. That alone, I just don't know if Cartersville is going to be able to move the ball enough. In high school, we all know everything's about turnovers. If you have too many turnovers, it's really hard to stay in the game. But if Coffee is just too good of a football team. So I have them moving on to play the Jefferson Dragons. And then this is just going to be a knockout, drag-out game. All the games are shown on TV. They don't play in the Dome anymore. So I used to go to the Dome. I'd get there early and I'd watch all 4 games because they'd have 4 championship games on a Friday and then they'd have 4 championship games on a Saturday. I'm going to miss that going to the Dome because it's warm. Now they actually play at the old Turner Field. Georgia State Panthers, the University of Georgia State, bought Turner Field, the old Brave Stadium. They turned it into a football stadium. And now that's where all the championship games are played. It's outside now, too. I actually wish that GHSA will go back to Arthur Blank and say, hey, can we bring the games back into the Dome? Plus, I think it's great for the kids to be able to play. I mean, maybe not 20 years, but at least for 10, 15 years, all the kids got to go play a championship game at Mercedes-Benz or before that at the Georgia Dome. And I think that's cool. You get to go play where the Falcons play, where the big SEC championship game is. So I hope they move that back to the Dome. But right now, it's at Georgia State. So Coffee and Jefferson, it should be a great game. Who I have winning is the Jefferson Dragons. I think that top recruit, Sammy Brown, is going to carry his team all the way through the playoffs, and they're going to find a way to win the championship. So that's who I have. And look, this is just my personal opinion. I did a lot of research, and I know I'm kind of going through this, put a lot of time and effort into this because I love football. I love high school football. The media, I think we need to do more for high school football, and that's why I enjoy doing this. Moving on, I just want to go over, I think all the kids, these kids probably get more recognition than others, but I want to go over the top 8 recruits in 5A football. I've already talked about Sammy Brown, but I'll go over this briefly. He goes to Jefferson. He's committed to Clemson. His rankings, he is 14th in the nation. Number 2 at his position. He's actually listed as a linebacker, and this is from 24/7 Sports. So his rank is number 2 at the position and only 5-star in this class. Going on down, you have Cameron Michael. He's listed as just an athlete. He goes to Statesboro. He is committed to Georgia. His national rank is 101st. His position is 6th, so he's a 6th best athlete, and then he's a 14th ranked overall kid in the state. He's a 4-star. Next, I have Walter Matthews. He's a tight end. He goes to Hiram. He's committed to the USC Trojans, so he's going all the way across the country. Nationally, he is ranked 139th. His position is 12th, and then in the state, he's 20th, and he is a 4-star. Then we have CJ Jackson. He's a defensive end. He's at those Tigers in Tucker, and he's also going to stay a Tiger. He's going to LSU. His ranking nationally is 198th. His position is 14th. And he's 24th in the state. Going back at the top, you have Zion Raggins. He's a wide receiver in Jones County. He is committed to the Sooners of Oklahoma. His national rank is 222nd. His position rank is 34th, and he's 28th in the state. Moving on down, we have Isaiah Canyon. He is at Warner Robins. He is committed to Georgia Tech. So the Yellow Jackets are getting them a good wide receiver. Nationally, he's 229th. He's 36th at his position, and he's 29th in the state. Just shows you how tight the wide receivers are ranked. So look at that. There is somebody in between them, and they're back-to-back in the state. Pretty impressive. Going on down, Creekside has Caleb Holmes. I had mentioned him earlier, but I didn't list him as an all-star because I was going to talk about him here. He is committed to Pitt. He is an offensive lineman. He's listed as an interior offensive lineman, but I believe he plays tackle for Creekside. His rankings is he's 302nd in the nation, 20th at his position, and 36th in the state. And then our last guy is Quintavious Jones. He's an edge defensive end for Mays, and he's committed to our Bulldogs. Nationally, he's 389th. He's 20th in the state, 20th at his position, and 46th in the state. I love Georgia has 3 of the top 8 recruits from this class. That's always great to see. I love when we stay in state. Plus, we have a lot of talent here in the state. And I only went through the top 50, but those are the main recruits for this class. As always, thank you for listening to Spider Red. Tell somebody you love them. Hit that subscribe. Hit the like. Later.